Think your U.S. citizenship is forever? Think again. Even if you were born in America, the government has ways to take it all away, and it's happening more often than you think. Many people believe that once you become a U.S. citizen, your status is permanent and untouchable. However, the reality is more complicated. There are rare, yet very real, legal pathways through which the U.S. government can revoke your citizenship, regardless of whether you were born in the United States or became naturalized. In this video, we'll explore the legal framework, shocking real-life cases, and the quiet, often unknown, government process known as denaturalization. So before assuming that your U.S. passport guarantees lifelong protection, watch this video until the end. There are two main categories of American citizens: those who are born in the U.S. or born abroad to U.S. citizen parents, and those who become naturalized after immigrating. Although both groups enjoy full rights under the law, the government treats them differently when it comes to the possibility of revoking citizenship. Naturalized citizens are significantly more vulnerable because their status is acquired through a legal process, a process that can be reopened and reversed if certain facts later come to light. One of the most straightforward ways to lose your U.S. citizenship is by voluntarily giving it up. This process is called renunciation. It must be done in person at a U.S. embassy or consulate in a foreign country. The individual is required to sign an official oath of renunciation, pay a fee, currently over $2,000, and confirm they understand the full consequences. Thousands of Americans living overseas have gone through this process. Some do it to avoid U.S. taxes, others for personal or political reasons, and some simply because they have fully committed to another country. However, renunciation is permanent. Once completed, you lose your U.S. passport, your right to vote, access to federal benefits, and you must apply for a visa like any other foreign national if you wish to return to the U.S. Now let's move on to involuntary loss of citizenship, which many believe is impossible. The truth is, it's entirely possible. This process is called denaturalization. Though rare, it is legally authorized and actively pursued for dozens, sometimes hundreds of individuals each year. Denaturalization occurs when the government determines that someone should never have been granted citizenship in the first place. The most common cause is fraud, especially lying or omitting critical information during the naturalization process. This could include failing to disclose a criminal record, using a false identity, hiding military or political affiliations, or being involved in human rights abuses. If such information is discovered later, your citizenship can be revoked. It doesn't matter whether it's been 5 years or 25, the law gives the government full authority to reverse your naturalized status. Real-life cases prove this is not just theoretical. For example, a Bosnian man living in the U.S. lost his citizenship after it was revealed he had participated in war crimes during the Yugoslav Civil War, information he had failed to disclose during immigration. Another case involved a former Nazi concentration camp guard who was stripped of his citizenship and deported after living in the U.S. for decades. These cases are documented in federal court records. You can also lose your citizenship if you associate with organizations deemed hostile by the U.S. government. This includes terrorist groups, insurgent armies, and, in certain circumstances, foreign governments. If, within 5 years of becoming a citizen, you join an organization that advocates for the violent overthrow of the U.S. government, your citizenship can be subjected to legal review. Even without direct violent action, your affiliation alone may raise enough concern to prompt an investigation into whether your naturalization was fraudulently obtained. Another red flag is serving in a foreign military, especially one that is considered hostile to the U.S. If you serve in such a military, particularly in a senior or officer role, you may be viewed as having sworn allegiance to another nation, which could serve as grounds for revocation. The same principle applies if you accept a political office in a foreign government. If you voluntarily hold a policy-level position in another country's government without U.S. permission, the Department of State can interpret that as a voluntary renunciation of your American identity. People often ask, what about dual citizenship? Isn't that allowed? Yes, it is, under many circumstances. However, the law is clear. If you acquire another citizenship with the specific intent to relinquish your U.S. status, then your American citizenship can be lost. It's not automatic. Merely holding 2 passports doesn't disqualify you. What matters is intent. Did you pledge exclusive allegiance to another nation? Did you serve in its military or hold an elected position? Did you renounce U.S. obligations in the process? The U.S. government evaluates your actions to determine your loyalty. Let's now address some of the most extreme cases: treason, rebellion, or attempts to violently overthrow the U.S. government. These are very rare, but they are outlined in U.S. law. If you commit treason or act as an agent of an enemy government, especially during wartime, your citizenship can be stripped through federal prosecution. Such cases are often highly publicized and involve deep legal scrutiny, but if convicted, the outcome can go beyond a prison sentence. You could be rendered stateless. Here's something most Americans don't realize. The Department of Justice actually has a dedicated unit that handles denaturalization cases. It falls under the Civil Division and works closely with DHS and ICE to investigate naturalized citizens who may have obtained their status through deceit. In some cases, they even use biometric data and digital tools to re-examine old immigration records. If any red flags, such as prior crimes, false statements, or suspicious affiliations, are discovered, the government can initiate denaturalization proceedings. This isn't a secret. It's a systematic process, and it has become increasingly sophisticated over the past decade. If the government wants to revoke your citizenship, it must file a formal case in federal court. You have the right to defend yourself, to hire an attorney, and to present evidence in your favor. Denaturalization is not automatic. It must be proven. But once it is finalized, your citizenship is revoked. You lose your passport, your right to vote, and your legal status to remain in the U.S. You don't revert to a green card holder. You become a removable alien and can be placed in deportation proceedings. Now, what about people who are born in the United States? Are they fully protected? In most cases, yes. Birthright citizenship is constitutionally guaranteed under the 14th Amendment. However, even this protection has limits. If you were born in the U.S. under fraudulent circumstances, such as through false documentation, fake parentage claims, or birth tourism scams, the government can challenge your citizenship status. Although such cases are rare and legally difficult to prosecute, they are not impossible. So what's the common theme in all these scenarios? Intent. The U.S. government cannot take away your citizenship unless it can prove that you either voluntarily gave it up or that you obtained it through deception. They must demonstrate that you acted knowingly and fully understood the consequences. That is a high legal standard, but when the government meets it, the results are permanent. The bottom line, U.S. citizenship is both a privilege and a right. While it comes with powerful protections, it also brings responsibilities and potential vulnerabilities. Whether you're naturalized or born on U.S. soil, it is essential to understand the rules, because when it comes to citizenship, what you don't know can cost you everything. This is 10 Globe Trips. Stay informed, stay protected, and subscribe for more deep dives into U.S. immigration law, policy, and the rights that shape our lives.